Welcome to Conversations Catapults, the #1 after show for the #1 D&D podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and I've got a bunch of very important warlocks from Keepsy's Ledger joining me today. Say hello, very important warlocks.
Hello, my name is Ben, and I am a very important warlock, allegedly. I played the level 7 gnome wizard, Windsor Wallaby, on the hit podcast Trials and Trebuchets, which we are here to discuss as warlocks do.
I appreciate you recapping the gist of the show for everyone here in the 9th episode.
Only warlocks listen to this.
It's true.
Hi! Hi, my name is Carla, and I play Integrity Addleberry, the actual warlock, who's also a rogue, from the hit podcast Trials and Trebuchets.
A very important hello to all of you. My very important name is Sarah, and I am a very important warlock who plays Mira Marchand, who is a level 7 half-elf bard of moderate importance.
Well, thank you all for joining me today. I don't know if it's only that the most important warlocks are included in Keepsy's little book, or if it's just any and all warlocks, but I figured that either way, you all were very important. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Sam couldn't join us due to some technical issues.
No!
Sam!
I was just going to say keep them in your prayers as if they're going through some sort of health issues, but it's really just their internet was making me sound bad.
Please keep Sam's internet in your prayers.
They're in my prayers.
Yes.
It's barely hanging on.
It is. It's bleak out there, everyone.
Speaks of the storm.
What?
What storm? I didn't know there was a storm where they are.
Well, clouds. Clouds stop internet, right?
I mean, it's been raining, but I don't think that counts as a storm.
I found the solution. There you go. It's the clouds.
Got it.
Regardless, we are joined with the OG3 here today, which is always a fun time. So if you'd like, we can go ahead and just get started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hang on, I should say that while I'm not fanning myself with the book. Yeah.
That's perfect. I'm going to cut that in easy peasy.
No.
Don't worry, you'll be the one cutting this at players section, so.
That's true.
Now, I did want to offer up something here that I think the three of you would be very interested in, just because with the recent one-shots and everything like that, you have been getting used to creating a one-off character. So what is your, warlock OC that you would put in Keepsy's book?
Oh, God.
You know, Nathan, it's a very funny question that you ask that because we actually played a one-shot ages and ages ago, maybe probably more than 2 years ago, where a character I played was a warlock who went to magical school. We later found out that took place in Agia and that was a former Wildcliff student. So my OC is an actual warlock who I played, who is probably in that book. She is a gray tiefling named Nevea, and that is my OC.
That is so neat, and definitely not something that was mentioned in the rough cut.
Didn't they die?
No, actually, Nevea did not die. She set fire to a town by accident, and they died. She got away.
Oh, it's that
that
one
one.
shot that you all played.
Yeah, it was not on purpose.
It was the one where everyone else died.
Exactly. It was not on purpose, I swear. Well, okay, now that I swear now made it sound like it was on purpose. It actually wasn't. I'm not helping my case here.
You just forgot that the building was on fire. The building that was full of harmless and very explosive chemicals.
I failed a check to notice the building was on fire.
Regardless, you're still going to have to figure out how Nevea dies, because it's always an ironic death at the hand of something related to the patron. So what was Nevea's patron, and how would it kill her?
Her patron was an archfey, if I recall correctly. I don't remember if I ever came up with a specific name for them because it was just a very short one-shot, but this was was that the Pumpkin Town? That was the Pumpkin Town. And so she survived the pumpkin thing, and so I feel like she would have had a death related to sort of the whole pumpkin Halloween imagery. And so I think that she escaped into one of those other nearby towns, and there was some scarecrows there that came to life, and she used up all of her spell slot in the other town, and I think that she was killed by a scarecrow.
Damn. That's rough to think about, especially if it's a fairy scarecrow, which you would have to be.
Yeah, it would have to be, yeah.
That's very sad.
It is.
Yeah.
Carla, do you have a fun alternate warlock that you were thinking of who might die at the hands of their patron?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it will be tyranny to even think of another warlock.
You feel like you'd be cheating on integrity.
Yeah. Like, I feel like while I'm sleeping, with a squall, like, right in front of me, like, how dare you even think of someone else?
What do I tell Integrity?
There's another warlock in your life? Am I not good enough?
Damn.
I don't expect you to ever have conversations with Integrity because you are so having conversations as Integrity with the rest of us outside of the game.
I would like to not comment on this. So I can't come up with one. It's too hard.
Absolutely fair.
It breaks my heart.
This was less of a question, more of just I'm forcing you to create an OC on the spot. So, totally understandable. With that in mind, Ben, do you have one?
Ooh.
Because if you did, then you would make Carla look really bad right now.
Well, I would say I just thought up of a funny scenario in my head, so I'm thinking I'm probably going to go with that. I don't know if I have like a whole name for them, so I'm just going to call them Joe.
Perfect.
Joe the Warlock?
So Joe's patron is it's one of the new warlock subclasses. It's the deep sea
Yes.
one.
The Fathomless.
So what I imagine is that their patron is like some great like water elemental, and I would imagine at some point they would just be swimming in a pool. And imagine The Sims where they're swimming in a pool, but you delete the ladder and they're just stuck and then they end up drowning.
Oh,
So I imagine that's what happens. Like, there's just no ladder, so he can't get out. So he just drowns because he gets so fatigued of swimming.
Oh, that's sad.
that does sound like a Luke NPC to be sure.
They didn't know how to climb the ladder.
How can you climb a ladder if it doesn't exist?
Exactly. You can't. How are you supposed to get out of a pool?
It's true. That's brutal.
Climb? You can't climb.
No, you can't climb and swim at the same time. You gotta pick one.
This is a question that we have returned to quite a bit over the past 8 episodes, or 9 episodes as of this one. But how has Integrity's view of her warlockhood changed, especially now that you've met Keepsy, who is eccentric, to say the least?
That's definitely a way of putting it.
It was very much like you met a guidance counselor who is specifically for you.
Yes.
And then they also had a list of every other student they've counseled or guided.
And failed.
And failed.
I honestly think that for Integrity, it sort of helps a little bit to have this place that she can go to that has an experience with past warlocks that have not made good decisions. There's a bunch of tieflings and other non-tieflings who have made dumb decisions, and it adds a little bit of peace to her to have this place, is how I viewed it. When it was introduced to us that, oh, they try to help you be able to fight off your patron, I think that gave me a little bit of room for an out, hopefully, if it works. Hopefully they don't fail, and I am able to do good tasks, so I'm able to get out of it, hopefully.
Absolutely, and you're gonna get out of it by doing good tasks.
Yes, like being brave, being heroic, and I think that is something that the group does quite well, so I think I'll be fine.
The last guy opened up a unicorn conservatory.
Yes.
And still got owned.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to top that.
Well, maybe that guy should have used more safety tools around the unicorns. You know, like where you like put little caps on like a cat's claws so that like they can keep their claws and they're not hurt but they're not scratching. You should have put little unicorn caps on the horns. That's on that guy.
They should have invented that. You're right.
That's absolutely fair. You know what? That is on them.
Still feel like that would hurt.
Yeah, it's a strong poke, but that's fine.
A strong poke into, like, you know, a foam thing that doesn't impale you, way better than getting stabbed, you know?
I'm always saying that.
I agree.
I just feel like you all are putting way too much faith in a piece of foam.
Yeah, there's a whole ass horse behind it, huh?
Yeah.
It's probably fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
The horn could just pierce through the foam at some point if it's not strong enough.
So what will Integrity do to prevent snakes from killing her, though? Like not living in Australia?
Agia is shaped like Australia, so that's a bad decision there.
Remind me, what was the name of that one like that fictional Indiana Jones character that we came up
Alabama
with?
Bones.
Alabama Bones.
Wait, hang on. Alabama Bones was a joke from episode 1. And I know that because that is the quote on Mira's wiki page. I realize now you're probably thinking of Diane Danger.
Okay, so we just need to get Diane Danger to come in and assist because they probably know their way around a few snakes.
Very good point.
See, this is why Integrity needs to make lots of money so that she can hire people to protect her from snakes. This is now her new goal.
So bodyguards?
Yeah. Snake bodyguards.
Yes, snake bodyguards. Carla, overall, your encounter with Keepsy, did it make Integrity more or less happy with her situation vis-a-vis the progenitor?
Scared because of the whole, if you will die based on what patron you have. But I'm also happy that Keepsy is here, and I feel like we can have good moments together.
Oh, you want Keepsy to be in every episode now?
We found a new mentor.
Oh my god. This is y'all's baby Yoda.
Yeah. Is it possible to make a rock, like make a mimic of a rock? Like make a rock a mimic?
Oh, you want to turn Artis into a mimic?
Yeah.
Wait, why would we do that?
Given that we know how badly scared Sam/Serenep is of mimics, do you think that's a bit rude?
Oh, true.
That might be a bit of a
Yeah.
slap in the face.
I mean, I'm not against it, don't get me wrong. I think it's a fun way to imagine Artis.
Only if we can't find a body.
I mean, even if you can, if it's not a good enough body, being a rock wouldn't be the worst.
Yeah, you don't want a shoddy body.
Yeah, a shoddy body can't do karate.
Fuck.
Wait, what's a shoddy body?
It's a body that's shoddy. So shoddy it can't do karate.
Shoddy is a word that means like broken
So you
down
take a
or-
gun.
Yeah. God. Anywho.
I thought we had no guns.
Not yet.
Did I answer your question at all? I feel like I'm doing very bad at like answering questions.
You said a lot.
I haven't talked to people lately.
That's understandable.
So
Aw.
I'm just like,
No worries, that's fine. I feel like you've answered the question enough. I don't want to like force you to just repeat yourself in the things that you've already said because I feel like you've already done that once. So I don't want you to have to do that again.
I hope so.
I think you're good, Carla. Don't worry.
I hope I answered at least a little bit.
Yes, you're fine. Don't worry. Keepsy was not the only wonderful person that we met in this little pair of episodes. Sarah, we finally got to see Delnus again.
Yes, we did.
I know, it must be very exciting to see your girlfriend after like how many weeks?
It's been a lot of weeks because the Trading Places arc was very, very long. And so I think it's been many months of real life time that we've seen Delnus. It was a very short a glimpse into how Delnus is, but it was a very welcome one.
Now, here's the question. Can we trust the glimpse that we got?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you're currently in this blended setting where people are not necessarily who they're going to be if you make everything unblended. So, do you think that Delnus could be affected by the potentiality blend?
I think so far the people we've seen as affected by the blending seem to just have had their memories like slightly altered in order to believe like Wild Cliff looks like this. This school has always had like 8 towers and this number of students. But of the people we have seen, we haven't seen any substantial changes in their personality, just in terms of like that attendant who we saw in the healing area. Toll still acted like Toll. And so my assumption is that there isn't much substantial change in who they are besides small memory changes. I didn't get a massive change in how Delnus was acting. So I think even if it were the case that this Delnus, there are things that are slightly off about her, I think that Mira at the very least would like to believe that it is fine. This is our Delnus. So I'm not too worried about it. And I don't think at this point Mira is either.
Fascinating. Now, all of you, is that a concern of yours when meeting new or returning NPCs? Are you like, I wonder how they've changed because of all of this? Or is it just, how do I keep this person from shattering into 1,000 pieces of mirror?
I And that's definitely a pretty big worry just because of what happened to Fidan.
Exactly.
Delnis was, of course, informed Mimir of like, hey, this is not the world that I'm used to, and she was fine. So my assumption is something like that may only happen when we interact with the kind of old world people. But the issue is that at this point, if it's somebody we've never seen before, we don't really know how to differentiate between that, if it's not someone we're already familiar with. So I think we'll need to tread on very careful ground with future new NPCs.
What if Keepsy isn't normally a mimic? What if Keepsy is actually usually a mind flayer?
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know. I was thinking of other potentialities for Keepsy.
Maybe they wouldn't lead such a cursed existence.
Y'all return back to them after all of this is wrapped up, and they're just a totally different individual.
That's fine.
Wow. What the fuck?
What do you mean I don't have eyes? I've always had eyes.
I've always had legs.
I don't think that's Keepsy's voice.
Oh.
We're so good at doing Keepsy's voice. I don't know why Luke blew his vocal cords out. It's so easy to do, and we do it so well.
I'm gonna make him do the whole DM section with the Keepsy voice.
Oh, as you should.
Thank you.
No.
People are gonna love listening to that.
Oh my gosh.
That will actually kill him.
Oh, it's gonna be rough.
He'll be whining at me.
He doesn't have a choice. It's gonna happen whether he likes it or not. I'm the host. He gave me the show.
True.
No takebacks.
That's true. You hold all the cards now.
Well, perfect. Y'all have about a week coming up. Are there any NPCs who you want to see, who you're interested in either seeing how they've changed, or people who may have already been dead and maybe you get a second chance with them? Is there anyone like that for the three of you? Because I know that we have an unspecified amount of time in the coming week for y'all to prepare to choose the new SCOP. I didn't know if there was anyone that you would be looking for.
Now I'm intrigued, because if the worlds have merged, what if we were to go and check Artis's house and we check Teb's grave? Is it going to be there? Is there going to be a Teb there?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there going to be like another Teb wandering around that's not a Nothic? Or will they be a Nothic?
Yeah, Fidan didn't recognize Teb or Dane's name, right? But Fidan was there, so that's a very confusing little thing there.
Teb is still buried there, but Teb is now actually a human instead of a Nothic.
Ooh.
Oh, like a potential where they did not transform.
Yeah, but still dead, so it doesn't matter.
I also don't want to think maybe people too much either, but maybe locales? What if the hatch is a little different?
Oh, shit.
That's a good question.
Because remember, a lot of the place in there was in disrepair. Like the statue was broken. It looked fucked up.
The thing with the towers being not so nice, obviously the plumbing system only got built 30 years ago, and so I wonder how that area is even accessible at this point.
I wonder if Faramel came to Wildcliff right now with how everything is going, how that would affect him, you know? Because we saw young Fidan. Would Faramel become young Faramel? I don't know, it was just an odd thought.
Faramel's not in the time period of the smush, so he shouldn't be affected.
Does the time period matter as much as just it being another, like, whole thing, you know?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Does each plane have its own timeline?
That is a good question.
That is actually something Luke and I mentioned or talked about on the previous Conversations in Catapults, which is the other planes are being affected by all this.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if we want to bring Ferdinand back now, all we have to do is just go back there and she'll be there. She'll just be vibing.
Oh my god, it's true.
Like, hey, sorry about the decapitation. Glad to hear you're fine, though.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh,
I can finally get my bag of holding.
poor Fidan.
Rip. But what are you gonna do? If you don't respect squatters' rights, then that's what happens.
Off with your head.
Wait, did you mean Ferdinand, Ben?
What?
You said Fidan.
Yeah, you said Fidan.
Did I?
You did.
Yeah.
I thought that's who you meant.
Yeah.
I heard F.
I was just paying respect.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. Well, as you pay respect to Ferdinand, I assume, or Finan, they're both dead.
Whoever the hell you are.
Regardless, let's now prepare to pay respects for Carla as we go in to battleships
Oh boy.
for this week.
Here we go.
How dare you, Nathan? How dare you segue into this with that?
Just to give everyone back at home a little background information, we are keeping a running tally of who wins our games on Conversations and Catapults. The current scoreboard is as follows. We have Sarah at the top with 5 wins, Ben with 3, Sam with 1, and then who's there at the bottom, Carla?
Hang on, let me peek.
I'm thinking it's Luke. I don't think he's ever suggested a name for battleships.
Yeah, no, Luke is at the bottom. Luke, I've actually taken points away from for various sins.
-5.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
-5.
So-
Carla,
Yeah.
look at me. You're gonna turn it around this time. It's gonna be fine.
Okay.
There's only 3 people this time, so it's gonna be, you only have to convince 2 of them to vote for you.
Okay.
There might be a chance that you might need to convince me as well, because I may need to come in here as a tiebreaker.
Okay.
Just convince both of them and you'll be golden.
The audience can't see it, but I'm shaking my head.
The tension is high as we head into this episode, this segment of battleships.
Duh.
Okay.
There is a new character introduced, and as such, we must figure out who they are the most compatible with.
Yep.
Who would be the best match for Keepsy? A mimic with no eyes, no legs, just a mouth and a book inside of it.
Yeah, I've got one.
All right, let's hear it.
I think that Keepsy should end up with the progenitor, for a few reasons. The first is that, Keepsy doesn't actually need eyes to, speak with the progenitor and, communicate and see the progenitor, because they communicate using the mindscape, right? Using dreams. And so, they can have their little, oily snake life together in the realm of dreaming, not going to be a problem. Keepsy can look into the progenitor's beautiful snaky eyes. Secondly, I think that it's just very funny to have that dynamic of 2 weird parents who want opposite things for their weird daughter integrity of well, I want her to go into good. Well, I want her to go into evil. That's a hilarious dynamic to me. And I think that them as bickering co-parents of integrity, I think that's delightful. I think that's something you can only get from the 2 of them being together. And not to mention just the whole enemies to lovers thing of I'm good and I give warlocks power. I'm evil and I give warlocks power. I think it's just a delightful time. So Keepsy X the progenitor for life. Thank you very much.
Ooh, the progenitor. That's an interesting one, Sarah.
Thank you, Nathan.
What about the other 2? Do y'all have anything that can top that?
I might have one, but I never remember the character's name. It's the one who gave Mira the arm,
Professor Alaro?
Professor Alaro. I thought it was Alaro, but I couldn't lay my finger on it. I would ship Keepsy with Professor Alaro.
Sell me on this, Ben. This is a hard fucking sell. I don't see it.
So Professor Alaro deals with sort of this machina, sort of prosthetics and stuff. The one thing Keepsy dislikes is the fact that they are stuck, relegated to an awful cave. They cannot move on their own.
That's good.
So
That's really good.
Professor Alaro could fashion Keepsy their own mechanical limbs to sort of move to some degree, or even attach wheels to the bottom of Keepsy, just wheel them around and stuff. I also think because the professor who created Keepsy was a bit of a lunatic, and I feel the best way to take care of this thing that this professor created is with another professor who is capable at creation and stuff like that.
I like it.
You know what?
Okay, bye everyone. I'll see you all later.
Carla, blow us away.
This is so dumb, but not the game. I'm talking about what I'm about to say.
I was about to be very hurt.
No, I'm sorry. I was thinking that Keepsy could work very well with not Toll,
Ari?
the Gossip. Ari. Just because I have a feeling that Keepsy has been kept for too long, has not heard of anything new, just smells all these nasty bird poop and all that. I bet that bird poop has gone to his tongue or something, or to Keepsy's tongue or something. Sorry, that's just weird. But not a good experience. But Ari can both carry Keepsy around if they really wanted. Ari can tell Keepsy a bunch of stories so that their damned boring existence can be like flavored a little bit by all the gossip that's going on. And assuming that Ari knows gossip all the way from like way back 40 years, then that's like a whole lot of gossip for the entire time that Keepsy has existed and lived.
Has Keepsy only been around for 40 years?
Apparently. Like they said that
I must have missed that. I believe you.
Yeah, because I remember when you were asking if they live forever.
Yes.
Like, can they be killed? They were like, in my 40 years of existence, I haven't been killed yet.
Hell yeah.
That's right. And also, what is that book inside of Keepsy if not a big book of gossip to share with Ari?
Oh.
You know? Ari is getting a sweet deal out of this as well.
That is true.
In that case, let's go ahead and recap.
Hard choices.
Sarah started us off by suggesting the progenitor as an enemies to lovers thing, and also the dueling parents of integrity. A very compelling pairing, to be sure. And then Ben came in with Professor Aloro, naming her ability to craft new legs for Keepsy would be incredibly beneficial to the poor mimic who is very stuck. Then finally, Carla suggested Ari, as Ari can pick up and carry Keepsy around to see the rest of the campus and also share everything that's been going on over the past 40 years to keep up with Keepsy. I'll roll with it. That's fine. That's a fine thing to say. That's a normal thing that humans say. If you all could, go ahead and vote for the person who you think would be the best choice. You are not allowed to vote for yourself.
You got it.
Wait, we can vote for ourselves?
No.
You cannot vote for yourselves. Is what I've received the votes.
The die is cast.
Carla, I believe this might be the first time this has happened. You received a vote for your choice.
Oh, the first time it has happened that someone voted for me. Thanks.
No, you've almost certainly received other votes. This time, you received 1/3 of the entire votes possible. Now, the person who took home the 2 remaining votes was, of course, Ben with Professor Alaro.
Professor Alaro!
Getting his score up to 4, trailing very closely behind Sarah's 5 now.
It's on.
Catching up.
And Carla
We'll see
is
about that.
still planning her fucking coup.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not competing with anyone at 0.
I voted for you, by the way. That was my vote.
Thank you, Ben. See, this is why I'm not going to kill Winsler.
Well, you had to have been. People, that's like a logic puzzle. People can figure that out because if the other 2 votes were for Ben, then Ben couldn't have voted for himself. So that's like an LSAT puzzle. How did everyone vote if you can't vote for yourself? And 1 vote went for Carla and 2 votes were for Ben.
Damn. Well, that's it for the most educational D&D podcast.
I just love imagining Keepsy with wheels.
I was imagining Keepsy with spider legs.
Oh, like it like sprouts 8 of those things and it just...
I was
Oh.
specifically thinking of that doll head from the first Toy Story movie.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Keepsy.
no.
I mean, oh no.
We created a monster.
But it would be really cute because,
That'd be horrifying.
you know, it doesn't have eyes, so it'd keep on bumping into things with the spider legs. So that'd be funny.
What if we turn Keepsy into a spider? Because then they'll have 8 eyes.
That's...
Damn.
Oh, this is how a side quest gets started. Well, thank you all very much for joining me on this episode of Conversations and Catapults. And dear listener, please join me after this short break as I slide into the DMs with Luke. Thank you to Ben, Carla, and Sarah. Look forward to joining all of you next time on Conversations and Catapults.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Smell you later. Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to another installment of Sliding into the DMs. I'm your host, Nathan, and Luke is joining me today, graciously doing the voice of Keepsy for the entire episode.
No! Don't no!
My throat, no! Do the fucking Keepsy voice, do it. That's right, do it.
It like gets ripped out of me. You can hear in the episode of me just actually my voice being dead and fried by like midway through the episode.
You asking, I think it was Carla, to do the outro was the funniest thing because your voice was so shot.
Yeah, just gravel.
Oh, it was incredible. I loved it. I wish that we could always have your voice like that.
I wish so too. I'm not that good though.
Oh, well, welcome back, Luke.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
glad
that you
to
won't
be
be able
here.
to do the Keepsy voice the whole time.
No.
It'll just be at the start of every question.
Yeah, okay,
So,
yeah, sure. I'll keep that in mind.
Just do the first sentence, and you know what? Since you're not doing it in the voice, could you at least do it in the character?
Oh, the character of Keepsy possessed me. It was one of those kind of things again when we were recording. I've had the idea of that fucking character for years now, ever since I made the old chapel in like whiteout when they did their exams and got a key to an office. I've had the idea of this thing sitting there, and then all of a sudden this character possessed me. Like in the moment, like just like the energy of everything. We went into that episode recording of 127 and 128, or 128 and 129, 128 and 129. We went into that episode like a hot start, right? Like we race into it. If you listen to the intro of 128, it's manic, and that energy just persisted.
Your energy is like you just got out of a stolen car, and like you did an action star roll out of it, and then sat down to record immediately after.
It was a lot of yelling.
It was a lot of yelling. It was good. It was a lot of yelling.
But that character very much was not at all what I imagined at all.
Tell me, what was all the prep that you did to create Keepsy? Like you say that you had Keepsy in your head for years.
Yeah.
To what was it? Keepsy was always a mimic with a book of all of the warlocks who have ever been inside? Or is it just a sentient warlock? Or a book that keeps all of warlocks inside? And excuse me, I meant a sentient mimic,
A sentient
not
chest.
a sentient
Yeah.
warlock. Yes, a
Yeah,
sentient
yeah.
chest. Fuck me. That'll be hell to edit.
In the episode 14, the one after Plans and Lambs, there's a scene where Alina's telling, episode 14, in episode 12, Plans and Lambs, because episode 13 is the spring dueling session. God, my brain just
The
fried
fact that you
for a
can
second.
even remember the names of those episodes from the early, like, double digits
Yeah.
freaks me out.
Well, it's because there's little important moments. This one is particularly is the first time Mira spoke to Terrassus. That's the reason I can remember it, right? And so Mira is leaving dining hall speaking to Alina. Alina references like the haunts of Wildcliff, and one of them was the crow loft behind the old chapel, which in retrospect is a bit of a canonical inaccuracy. But I remember I woke up from a cold sweat I was having some sort of dream after I'd eaten probably too many baked goods like donuts and stuff. It's just the way of things. And I woke up from a dream, and on a post-it note, on like 3 post-it notes, I scribbled down like 18 plot hooks and a map of the old campus. Those plot hooks were a lot of Ascendant stuff, the Mimic stuff, the Oblex stuff, or not the Mimic stuff, sorry, the Crowloft stuff, Williard, the Love Ghost, and some other things that we haven't even gotten to yet, but we came real close to them.
I admire you going off of post-it notes to prepare for the entire campaign. Post-it notes that you do not recall writing.
Yeah.
That has been your basis for a lot of the things that have occurred in the podcast. This throws a lot of the show into a new light for me and explains so much.
Yeah. I wrote 9 post-it notes of prep for the past couple episodes. And when we started recording, I was like, look at how much I've prepped, Ben. And he was like, are those post-it notes? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Post-it notes make sense
Yeah.
to me. Post-it notes, you can put them very easily in eye level or wherever you're usually looking. You can look down, see it right there.
It's super easy.
Great. That is not the problem that I have. My problem is not with you writing your notes on post-it notes. It is crafting a campaign memento style from notes that you left yourself, apparently.
Years ago.
One day you're going to wake up with a tattoo just on your wrist, and it's going to be Magic Bubble Wand.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what ties all of the orbs together. It'll be a big bubble wand with 4 holes in it, each one perfectly sized for the orbs, and that's how this is all going to end. I'm calling it now.
There's a very big note in my notebook. I think I told the players about this. One of them is Philip is not doing okay, and the other one is Alina dead bread. I don't know what the second one really means, but like it's in in
The
there.
first one is just the truth.
Yeah.
Philip. Is Philip, what, now half golem or something like that?
It's something along those lines based on contextual evidence from Ari, who is currently MIA from our perspective. But yes, based on that information, Philip is something of the sort. We haven't seen him yet this arc, though.
No, that's true. You know who we have seen this arc? And
Oh.
who we should talk about?
Yeah.
Keepsy. As always, I'm bringing it back to the very top.
Yep.
And this isn't just about Keepsy. This is also actually a question about Delnus, too. Now that we have seen her, this is going to be a key question for this whole episode.
Okay.
When introducing new and returning characters, like for this current arc, given its blended state, do you consider all of their potentialities as well when you bring them in?
This is a good question, Nathan.
Both new and returning. So
Yeah.
we're going to spend a lot of time on this because when I first met Keepsy, my first thought was, is this the Keepsy that we would be getting if everything returned to normal tomorrow?
That's the joy of it, isn't it?
It's the fear.
That ties into like I don't think I ever answered your question other than just saying I wrote it on post-it notes about what I intended for Keepsy. But the grand vision in my head had some stark differences to the Keepsy we received. And that does in part have to do with the potentiality problem. How very keen of you to notice that. I don't think the players picked that up at all. Like the idea that this could be different from what the hell was supposed to be here. Like I think I even lampshaded it as Keepsy and said like, oh, the person who made me had a really mixed taste and aesthetics, right?
The truth is, Luke, that line totally passed me by as a reference to the person who made me, like that being a reference to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, hey, this is hinting at a Patreon character who's in orbit.
No, that character actually is not a Patreon character. However, in this set of episodes, there were a bunch of Patreon characters that were at one point like alluded to. There was a moment Sarah noticed a bunch of people on campus that were like kind of like the variety of different folks on campus had changed. Described a bunch of Patreon NPCs in that moment. It will continue to happen. They will continue to be introduced in this arc. There's a lot of them in orbit, and this is a perfect time to do them because introducing new characters right now is such an easy way to explain why some of them might be a bit weirder than regular on campus, right? Which I think is a very good way of doing it.
Also, if there are any Patreon NPCs who are annoying or made by bad people, this way you can just shatter them into a million pieces.
It's an elegant solution.
And, that was just a potentiality, but now they never have to show up again because they did show up for the one time they were contractually obligated to.
They needed to, yeah. They just showed up so that they wouldn't get in trouble. I wouldn't get in trouble. But yeah, and so that's the case with introducing new characters, is that they have the ability to be less mundane than I would want to regularly keep the campus, right? I think we talked about this when we were spending a lot of time in Isithil and trading places. For a large part, I try to maintain a moderate amount of mundaneness within the characters themselves, and then like the setting and everything else can have magical stuff, and like the events going on can be magical, but like the characters themselves are just like kind of plain as hell. Like if you think about it, 2 of our first years are literally described every single time they're on screen as being the most plain as hell people that exist, like the background characters, right?
Shout out to Ganal and Lucia.
But with this, it allows me a little bit more, and maybe it's just in my head, a little bit more freedom to introduce those bit zanier characters that would otherwise either have a difficult time throwing them into a scene, or it gives me just an elegant reason to have everyone here and be able to describe them all, right? Other than just the festival occurring. And then for characters I had already intended to introduce, like Keepsy, and the entire kind of side story with the Crow Loft, it lets me shift those things a bit because, like I said, I came up with these ideas years and years ago, and I was always like, we're hurtling on this path towards this specific kind of thing. Now we're in this different potentiality, and what does that kind of mean for all of these things that I had been planning for a long time? It means that for the most part, I can just get rid of like the kind of things that I viewed as stale about those ideas. If that makes any sense. Like they hadn't shown up, but I still wasn't in
I feel like we may have gotten off base from the original question.
Yes, I've gone off on a tangent.
You have? I kept on looking for a good way to come in there and cut you off.
No.
There wasn't a good one.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting and like helpful.
Yeah.
However, so it's definitely staying in.
Okay. But off topic. Back onto the topic. Introducing new and old characters in this.
Like Delnus.
Yeah.
Because Delnus doesn't seem to have realized that something is up with Wildcliff in general, which makes me wonder what all else is different about Delnus.
Yeah.
So do you have an idea of mind of, here are all of the different potentialities of things that are/could be going on with Delnus in this weird mesh of potentialities?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. 1,000 times over, yes.
Is it going to be like that with every NPC we
No,
recognize?
it
Where
absolutely will not be.
I was about to say, if there is another world where Ganal is interesting, that would be wild to me.
So to be clear about things, there's certain characters who, for given reasons, might experience this kind of like shift in potentiality a bit stronger than everyone else, right?
Perhaps they've had more crossroads or wider variety of paths that they could have taken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it that sort of thing? Or is it being so closely tied to a plot device like maybe the orbs causes it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to fish for real info here. This might be too much.
Our primary plot devices of the orbs do present a lot of different interesting crossroads. So in a sense, the two questions or the two possibilities for why you've offered here, Nathan, are kind of like the same, you know? Because if it was due to the orbs or some other plot device, it would be because so many new different options or potential versions of their life went out from that single point, and it not just innately because orb that this is happening to them, right?
Good to know.
Yeah. I almost gave you more info than I should have, but then I like caught myself.
Thank goodness, because we need the audience to keep on listening to this show.
But if they listen to this show and then get the answers, then they'll be incentivized to listen to this one.
Exactly. See, we need to keep a mystery here, actually. So we need to like give them a little bit and then reel it away.
Yeah, the meta story of Conversations and Catapults.
What is the meta arc of this? Is it me learning how to podcast?
Yeah, I think that's it. You becoming a very good host in the span of like the first 5 seconds of the show. Yeah, that was it.
Shucks.
That was the arc.
Welcome, everyone. This is all epilogue from here on out. And it's been epilogue, apparently.
But in reference to like the question at hand, there are characters who I am definitively like, here is all of like the different potentialities, and here's the one that I want to present, right? Fadan represents one such character like that, right? And I think we saw a touch of that, though I don't know how heavy-handed it was, with the like Winsler picking up like the shard of mirror and looking through it and seeing these different potential versions of Fadan that might have existed, just not this time, or not here at the very least. Delnus not knowing anything's like up on campus and being like, are you okay? But still, for all intents and purposes, is very similar to the Delnus, which we already know, enough so that it's like, maybe it's just deferring on one factor, right? Like maybe there's just one important thing here that we don't know about, right? And that's made the difference. And then for some characters, it's just not going to come into play whatsoever, right? Straight up, it's like their Swims family. I don't think it would be fun to meet not the actual Swims family, right?
100% agree.
We don't know what these people are like. If the players sent me, here's what my family's like, and then I just showed up with people who were not who they wanted,
yeah,
that's kind of shitty.
We've had all this buildup of the Cinderman family being the worst, and they get here, and it's fucking Ned Flanders, and it's just two Ned Flanders, actually.
Yep,
the Serenep parents have always been the Serenep fathers.
Sam and I have been doing some interesting plotting on that regard. Just because I had told the players, if you have any last minute things you need to flesh out about your parents with me, let me know. Sam and I did some very interesting group thinking on Cinderman stuff.
Do you ever worry that doing that group thinking might actually be hampering you sometimes?
Yeah.
This is not like an indictment on you. This is a me thing that I have been personally thinking about as I like get back into the swing of DMing, which is sometimes I worry that having those deep conversations often enough will make my execution always feel lacking because I build it up with the players so much. I am not trying to put this fear in your head. It was just something that I thought of while listening to you. Do you have any way of like hedging against that?
I think it's a fear. I don't know how common it is, but I definitely have the exact same thing of like, is talking about this out of character with people building expectations. Since we make a show of our campaign that like is twofold, because not only talking with the players about events that might occur builds them up to this kind of high level, but talking or interacting with members of the audience can also do that in a kind of like, that to me is a bit more destructive.
Right.
And can lead me astray. Talking with my players, though, ways to like stave off like that kind of like fear of letting them down. I don't have a really good answer to that. It's something that I quite honestly struggle with a lot. It's something that I'm really anxious about for this arc in particular, because we've known about the Cindermans for so long. What if I don't do justice? Like, what if they're just okay people, not bad people, right? And so like it's a shitty thing to say, but I think the only way I can stave that off is just committing to this, like, even if it's not a fully fleshed out character, if I can just hang on to this one note for the character and just hit that as hard as I possibly can, that's going to make a very strong and lasting impact. And then the players kind of fill in all the other bits, if that makes sense, right? And it's that way for a lot of NPCs too, because I will make my NPCs and I'll write these grandiose notes about them and say Ferdinand's going to be like this, right? And she's going to do that and X, Y, Z. And her showing up can kind of fall flat of my expectations, but then I just have to keep remembering, just make her so insufferable. Just make her insufferable, right? Just make her like a cunning and insufferable woman that everyone wants to hurt, or everyone wants a part of, right? And just going back to those like kind of singular traits about the character can really easily send you on your way. And I think that when you actually get moving, a lot of the time your own worry is great. Your own worry of the players being unhappy with how you've portrayed the characters is greater than the actual players thinking at all, because the players don't know any other alternative. A lot of the time, the second their character shows up on the screen, they're like, oh my God, it's them, and just want to interact with them, is what I've found, right?
I see that.
A lot of that anxiety bleeds away in the moment when you actually like just jump into the water.
I see.
Yeah, which I don't think is great advice, and I apologize for that.
I appreciate it. Regardless, I think that it's an interesting insight into your own, how you view things. So I think it's neat in that aspect. Now, I did want to touch on one last thing in that first question, or not first question, but the previous question, which was for new characters who are being introduced in this current blend time. Do you have a set way of how they're going to be when everything in Wildcliff is returned to normal?
That is a very flexible answer that I'm gonna have to say. I mean, that's just gonna be something that's gonna have to be on a
case-by-case basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think I said this in one of the episodes. I don't have an idea for how they're going. Like, I know what's going on. I know how they could get there. Don't know how they're gonna resolve it, what they're gonna do. That's the exciting part for me. Play to figure out what happens. I don't have an idea of how you solve this. We talked about this a while ago, Nathan, of it's a bad idea to make a puzzle.
We did. We talked about it on the most recent.
Oh, did we? Oh my gosh.
It may not be exactly what you're speaking of, but we did mention last C&C that you enjoy building things that you don't necessarily like have a resolution for. You're excited to see the players find the resolution.
I'm just a freaking broken clock, folks.
It's a broken record, right?
Oh,
you
is
mean
it?
A broken record? A broken clock is right twice a day.
I never used to get that, because to me a broken clock is like a clock that's a couple minutes fast or a couple minutes slow. I was like, it would never be right. What the hell are you talking about? Which is a beautiful like moment of thinking outside the box. But I think that a very exciting proposition that the players made, I don't know if they're seriously considering it, but they did say at one point, what if we just don't fix this? Like maybe this is just better, right? And I was like, that is one of the ones that I wrote down in my notebook as like they probably won't do that, right?
I felt so validated hearing that today while listening to the episodes after the previous week of editing the most recent C&C, which I literally ask, hey, do you think this world might be actually better for some folks and they may just want to keep it that way? And now it's just happening. It makes me very happy to see.
That stuff is really cool, yeah.
I did have another Keepsy question.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to keep on hammering on the Keepsy, drum.
No, it's okay.
Perfect. Thank you for doing your contractually obligated 2 seconds of Keepsy voice.
That voice could put me out of commission for 4 days. Straight up.
I'm not surprised. That I would not be able to do that voice at all. And I consider myself a pretty good mimic of you and your character voices.
I would agree, yes.
Thank you. In regards to Keepsy, where did you get the idea for keeping a list in the universe of a certain character class. Was it ever a thing for other classes, or was it just, no, warlocks come with their own guidance counselor / list keeper? Because they need it the most.
They do. I love this sense of stupid bureaucratic systems applied to magic and like the beautiful world of magic. And so the idea that a person out there, some professor was like, we need to contain this. We need to make a list of, because that's like an very academic thing. My background's in like biology and environmental science, and like part of that is like classifying everything, right? And so there's a part of my brain that's just, it's almost like a disenchantment with like that sense of classification, right? Of like going out and making a list of every single thing that fits this definition is kind of pointless. What point is there in making a list of all of the warlocks ever, right? And so part of it's that. And that's why we see a lot of lists all over the place. Like if you go back and listen, there's a fair amount of list keeping in the show because that's just part of stupid bureaucracy to me. And a lot of the show is me making fun of over the top stupid bureaucracy, right? That's why, like, the show's set at a school, you can't not, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And the other part of that is if you think about like a guest book at a really nice resort, or like in the Hall of Fame almost. That was like, I think the original idea that came into my head was a Warlock Hall of Fame.
That's so interesting that it was still for warlocks though, because that sounds very much like a paladin thing.
Yeah, like a knightly thing.
Oh yeah.
It leans heavily on A Song of Ice and Fire, who like it's obvious. Everything does. Everything I make leans on A Song of Ice and Fire.
Your shame that came through when you had to say the word A Song of Ice and Fire, when you had to say the title.
Yeah.
It was palpable. I think people can feel how guilty you like seem just naming that book.
Yeah, I love them, but I think that's made it in the show a couple times, me crying about it.
During the finale, there is literally a few episodes during that last season of Game of Thrones where you can accurately track your mental health with regards to that show. Based solely on what happens in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. It's drawing inspiration from that, but that's like a knightly order kind of like for the Kingsguard is they keep this the white book, if I'm not mistaken, back to the start of time or back to the start of the order, right? And that's a knightly order, and so that would be a paladin style thing in a different campaign that we could have played. The campaign that this setting was built for, paladins and knightly orders and oath breaking and oath making would have played a very, very, very big role. That's not the one we're playing, so bully did that. However, that kind of concept is still in my mind and I'm still very fond of it, right? Like keeping track of like that history, like that social history of like these people existed here at this school. These are your like your alma mater essentially, right? In more than just like they were also students, but also they were in your shoes. Like they had made this deal.
You were a part of their lineage.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the like, is your destiny as a warlock just to die at the hands of your patron like all of these other warlocks, or are you finally going to like break that lineage of things, right?
I like it both in that and also it seems like an end user license agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely does seem like this is what you're signing up for. Look at your lineage, look at your destiny. All right, I do have one final question before we wrap up.
I'm so excited.
It is not about Keepsy, unfortunately.
Okay. I can deal with that.
It's about what actually happens in 128, which is a lot of research.
Yes.
Which, first of all, loved how you did research here. Highly encourage other DMs, if research is a part of your game, use this method.
I played a wonderful game of Dungeons and Dragons on Saturday, the day before we recorded, where my wonderful DM allowed us to research things about the world. And I went, wow, this kind of system is a lot better than what I had in mind. And so then I fucking threw out my idea and then took Nathan's.
This is not why I asked the question.
I know, but that's the genuine truth of it. Is we played, you were like, oh, I read a couple of things in the book and we're gonna run it kind of this style. And I was like, oh shit, that's good. And the way I did it was like slightly different, where I was like, if you get this, it'll be a yes, no, and blah, blah, blah. That's the part I really liked. Yeah.
You had a bronze, silver, and gold medal thing, which I really liked, of saying, hey, you can ask a yes or no question on a 15 to 20. On a 20 to what I assume is 25, you can ask a broader question, and I might be like limited with what I give you. You get above that, you're golden.
Yeah, anything. I would have just out of character been like, hey, this is what you know. Figure out how you would ascertain that, right?
Right. Right.
And that's actually stolen from, I think I said this in the episode, but cut it because it actually hasn't come out yet, so I didn't want to reference it in like a mainline Trials and Trebs episode. But here I think it's fine to reference is that was like inspired by Lasers and Feelings.
Oh, neat.
And because there's a thing in that if you get a laser feelings roll, which you'll figure out if you go and look up lasers and feelings or wait until the episode comes out in redacted at a certain amount of time, then if you roll a laser feeling, something like that, you just get to ask the DM anything and they have to answer honestly. And so ever since we played that, I've been like, I want to try adding that to our game in some way, right? And so this was, if they rolled, the DC was 27. If they roll above 27, I was like, I'll just answer anything. And I think only Winsler could have gotten that as a side note. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
The question that I have with regards to this research was, when you have this style of research, when it is just answering whatever question your player is going to ask, were there any questions that you were hoping they would ask or any that you were hoping they wouldn't? Is there anything that they possibly could have asked that would have stumped you?
Oh, to answer that last one, the question Carla asked, or Integrity asked, however you want to cut that piece of pie.
With her, it's particularly tough to tell which is which at the time.
Yes. But about, is the current shepherd unmortal? That was almost a stumper for me, and I almost got caught in like this little loop of like just thought like that's just not something I'd ever thought about before, and was trying to like work through in my head, because she made such a like, is this kind of like, I think the wording or the intent behind her asking that was trying to figure out, is this a new addition so that the same thing does not happen to the new shepherd? And I was like, holy shit, that's so good, right?
That's really brilliant. I didn't even realize the layers to that.
I don't know if that was her intent, but that's how I interpreted it. I'm just gonna attribute the cleverness of the question to her.
I would not be surprised. She's a very clever individual.
I mean, the question started with, is shepherd kill, but it had layers, you know? That was almost a stumper. The other ones were very good questions, I think. I was hoping they were gonna ask more about, because I gave them time or timelines as an option to ask about, but they did not seem that interested in it. I mean, they still have the notes, and ostensibly, as long as they don't super spam it, they could use it later in the arc for info.
Yeah, they have apparently, according to, and this might change based on the cut, but, according to the rough cut of 129, you're giving them like a good little week to figure out what they want to do in that week. So the notes could be a part of that. Maybe not daily, but
I would not allow them to do it daily. I would be like, knock it off, fools. But I was hoping that they were going to ask about timelines, because the point of that studying was both to give their characters information to make decisions, and also so that I could clear up some misconceptions that everyone was having. And so I feel like a big part of that was timelines and time merging, that people seem to be, the players themselves seem to be kind of like, what is that? What's happening here? And the conversation didn't go that way, and that's perfectly fine. I hold out hope that as I introduce more other weird stuff, and that they see other things unfold throughout the course of this arc, that they will go, okay, is there some stuff going on with time actually here, which we can address when we cross that bridge.
Absolutely. I appreciate your answer very much, and I look forward to talking over time stuff as it becomes relevant again in the podcast.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun.
I don't know about you, but time stuff, time fuckery is just something that is delightful to me. I love when media tackles it in a nifty way.
I used to be really big on it.
Oh.
I was very much into, what got me into it was Lost, and then the movie Primer.
Yeah.
Memento, which I mentioned earlier, is not necessarily about time, but about memory.
Yes.
Shown to you practically in reverse.
Yeah, exactly. It's a discontinuous kind of story, so.
All this to say, like, I used to really enjoy time travel shit, and now, for some reason, I have such difficulty engaging with it at all, because I get in my head too hard about timelines and what all would actually be happening here.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get like wrapped up in. There's a conversation behind the scenes that we have kind of had of me just kind of outright telling the players certain things so that we do not just end up in a 45-minute conversation about what the hell is happening, because I'm like, no, please don't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's easy to get like wrapped up in what's going on and not pay attention. But I think these two episodes have kind of done a really good job of shifting away from that kind of confused start of the arc and more towards lighthearted prepping for Autumn's End style.
I agree. I think Wanderhome did such a huge help
Yes.
in allowing the tone to shift, because, those past 2 episodes before this were done right after having to put Ferdinand down like a fucking dog.
Yeah.
And so then every new development appears threatening. Now after Wanderhome, it's like, oh, we met a joyful little mimic. This is so much fun.
That was such a fun, like, there's times that don't serve anything thematically, narratively, anything, but it's essentially, it just becomes me playing a character in a room and making all my friends have a good time. And I'll be fucking damned if that isn't the best part of D&D and running the game. Like, it's so fun.
Oh, are you kidding me? Nothing is better than finding a silly voice or like a character name
Yep.
that makes your players crack up and then just really hammering in on it, just juicing that bit.
It's really good.
It's the best.
I think that if you run the game, that's like what I dream of, like moments like that where I lose sight of everything else and I'm just like in that moment having a delightful, joyous time, because like every thought has left me and I'm just like running through the motions. Like it's just this beautiful moment of improvisation. And even though it's not storytelling, there's been a lot of moments like this in the course of the show where I would introduce a character to move things along, but then get stuck in that character and we just fucking goof around for a while. And it's so delightful. And I think the show having more of that we're not worse for it, I think, in any way.
Absolutely not. That possession by a character is so fun to listen to. And also, it's really fun to hear in comparison, especially towards Carla, who is just constantly in that state of being possessed by integrity.
Yep.
I'm really happy that you seem to have had that with Keepsy.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing all of the future moments that you have doing that as well.
So do I.
And with that, I think we should go ahead and take it to the close, shall we?
Oh, dang. Sure.
Unless you want to keep on talking. I mean, I was just looking at our time code and...
Yeah, I think we could wrap up here. I think we should talk in maybe a future episode, Nathan, about dealing with fatigue as a DM, because I know that's something both of us experience really, especially recently.
Oh, yeah.
Have been going through the gutter with, because you mentioned Wanderhome as like this kind of like shifting thing. I am such a big proponent of playing out of genre one-shots as a way to like kickstart your like creativity again, or just like it just pulls me personally out of ruts when they're like such fun times, right? And I use those to combat fatigue a lot. We could talk about that in depth more, but that's also...
I would love that bonus episode. Let's go. Hell yeah. Patreon bonus.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna paywall everything now. Just kidding. We would never do that. But let me tell you about the Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/trialsandtrebs. Trebuchets. This Patreon got me this job, and you would think I would know the URL, but I don't.
Patreon.com/trialsandtrebs.
Ah, perfect. Just like our socials, which Instagram, Twitter, @trialsandtrebs. Perfect. Hey, fun fact. I've been doing as a running joke to myself, just tricking you into doing the outros every episode.
I know. I'm very aware. I think I was like, is Nathan like, is their brain okay? Are they like losing it over there?
No, I kept on waiting for you to say something, but then you were too nice to say something.
I'm just too polite to say anything.
Exactly. So now I have to try to like pull out of the bit while also remembering how to do an outro, which I haven't done in so many weeks.
Golly.
Anyways, Trials and Trebs on Instagram and Twitter. Tweet, follow us. Great art on the Instagram, especially, whether it's fan art, commissioned art, or maps. Come by, check it out. And if you like every single post, we'll really appreciate it.
Yes.
It won't do anything for us in terms of optics or SEO. It just makes it feel good to see the numbers go up.
You, by freely clicking with your thumb, can make us happier. And like, if you're good at heart, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Also, if you want to tap multiple times with your thumbs and make us even happier, leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. It takes 5 minutes, even less if you just want to leave a star rating.
Yeah.
And we're a 5-star podcast. We all know this.
Yeah.
You just have to let Apple and Spotify and whoever else know.
Yeah.
The fat cats up there, in their ivory towers, they need to listen to us.
It does really help out when you leave reviews and ratings, though, because it like boosts people being able to see us. Or like if you look at a podcast and you're like, all the reviews say that these people are very bad, so I do not want to listen to it. Like that's a meaningful thing. So if it says the reverse, right, where they're like, oh, these people are good, this podcast is good, inside the D&D universe and outside of it, it's a good show, listen to it. Like that's a very kind and helpful thing that you can do for free.
We should consider doing What if they leave a review on Apple Podcasts
Mhm.
and I read their Apple username out and say thank you to their name specifically?
Would that make you, listener, would that be enough?
Would that be enough?
Listener, if that would be enough, leave a review saying that would be enough. Please and thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, say that specifically. Say these are good people and they make a good show. That way I know you're referencing this podcast, this episode specifically. And if it makes you happy, at the end of the next CNC, I'll say thank you to Weedbong420 for your kind review.
Thank you, Weed Bong.
But it's for this episode only. This is not a standing offer. You do it between episodes 9 and 10 of CNC.
Nathan's hijacked their own show.
This is why I don't do outros anymore. Anyways, thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Also, there's a Discord link in the description.
Yes, join the Discord, and that's where I am 99% of the time. Send in questions for tinfoilery. Chances are there will be a round of that coming up soon.
Ooh la la.
Yes, and let me know if there's anything that I can do to improve the show. Let me know in the DMs, not in any sort of ratings or reviews. That is not the place for constructive criticism. That is the place for praise and praise alone. Thank you all for listening. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful time.
Bye.
I keep on wanting to say evening and it's not. Fuck. Bye. Bye.